Welcome back. Today I'm joined with Tom Pagnozzi, former St. Louis Cardinals catcher and three-time Golden Glove winner. Tom, you played collegiately here at the University of Arkansas. What was it like playing for the Razorbacks in the 80s?
Well, the support was a lot different than it is today. You know, you had your girlfriend or your parents and the rest of the club's friends and girlfriends, and that's about it. That's all you got attendance-wise. We played where is now it used to be the girls' softball field, and now it's the football practice field. That's where we played. It was old turf, but you know, still you were here representing the University of Arkansas, and college sports and college baseball has really changed since then.
Right, so what was your highlight playing for the Razorbacks?
Well, you know, I guess going to the regionals, back then they only took 32 teams to the regionals, so it was a lot different than the 64 that they take today. It was a little more difficult. You know, there was 4 regions, and that was it. And you know, I guess like everybody, playing against Texas, you know, was always a thrill. Going to Southwest Conference tournament down there and beating Texas at Texas, and then having to come back and beat them again. And you realized at that point, once you beat Texas at Texas, that you have to beat them and then the umpires also the next time.
Okay, so take us down the path of how you got to the major leagues.
Well, after leaving here, I was catching and playing third base. The St. Louis Cardinals drafted me, and you go to the minor leagues and you start battling and start playing. And 3.5 years later, I ended up in the big leagues. You know, with stops in Erie, Pennsylvania, Macon, Georgia, Springfield, Illinois, Little Rock, Arkansas, and Louisville, and then St. Louis. I actually got to the big leagues fairly quick in my draft class. And you know, never left after that.
Nice. So I know during the time when you were playing for the Cardinals, Joe Torre was one of your managers, who is as well a catcher. What was it like working with him?
Well, Joe was awesome. We weren't as talented when Joe was managing. You know, when I first came up, Whitey Herzog was the manager, and then the brewery wanted to sell it. We were owned by Anheuser-Busch. They were trying to sell the club, so they kind of stripped our pitching staff, and Joe Torre came in. And a lot of people, it wasn't fair to Joe that, boy, Joe wasn't a very good manager because we weren't very good at that time. But we were really young. We had a lot of young players. And then Joe goes to the Yankees and goes to 6 or 7 World Series. So it wasn't Joe Torre, it was us players. But Joe was awesome, especially being a catcher. And the remarkable thing about Joe Torre is the friendship that you create with him, but his memory. A quick story, I had one of my best friends out in California, and you know, you bring him to the clubhouse and you got to put him out in the dugout. And he meets Joe. They sit out there and they talk for like 15 minutes. Well, a year later, when we go back to San Diego, Joe goes, "Hey, is Dan coming on this trip?" And I'm like, "Dan?" He goes, "Yeah, your buddy that was here last year." And I'm going, gosh, I mean, 15 minutes with Joe Torre, he remembers your friends. Either he said a lot of bad things about me or a lot of good things. I'm not sure what it was, but that's the type of person and character Joe Torre was or is.
So you spent a lot of time in St. Louis. So after the major leagues, what brought you back to Fayetteville?
Well, I had the opportunity. I retired and moved back to Phoenix, and I just didn't like, Phoenix was growing so fast. I lived in a really neat area, Paradise Valley, but one day I picked up the paper, and it was shortly after 9/11, and it said in 2015, you know, which didn't seem very far away. It was 2002 when this happened, and it was Phoenix was going to be as big as LA County, 5.5 million people. I'm like, I don't want to be in the middle of 5.5 million people. So Dave Van Horn got the job. He calls me, and I was going to actually come and help Coach DeBryan. Then Dave gets the job and says, "Hey, you were going to come and help coach. Will you come help me rebuild?" And I promised him 2 years. We went to the World Series in year 2. So I thought, good time to step back, go back to retirement.
So what's it like being on the coaching side of things?
I didn't really enjoy the college coaching side. I'm so pro player type, you know, and kids, and with the NCAA rules, you know, it probably was better that I left before I got us in trouble. Is the way some kids will tell you the stories. You know, they always talk about how they do things for the student athlete, and I don't think it's really done that way. And you know, I kind of butted heads a little bit with the NCAA and made a couple comments that probably weren't, you know, that were justified but probably weren't proper to say. And it was just better for me to, you know, go back to retirement and, you know, go back to coaching, you know, my style.
Are you still active with the Arkansas baseball program here?
No, I'm not. Now that my kid's playing at Ole Miss, and we play them starting, this Thursday or Friday. He's at Ole Miss, and so it's a tough week for me right now because, like I told somebody, regardless, I win. If Ole Miss wins, so I'm rooting for my son. But if Arkansas wins, under the table I can go. Because I'm a Razorback, and that's what people don't understand. Just because he chose to go there, and I wanted him to go grow up. The main thing why a lot of kids leave to go from school, and it was very important for him to go away and grow up and learn life lessons. But I'm a Razorback, and I'll always be a Razorback. That will never change.
Right. So shifting gears a little bit, I understand that you own Southern Trend clothing brand. What is it like transitioning to the business world?
It's been a lot of fun. Clinton Brannon, my partner, I actually coached at Arkansas, and we actually started off with Bikes and Blues and had this idea, and I backed him financially. At first, I really didn't know if I wanted to do it, and I said, "Look, I'll just loan you the money." And he goes, "Well, if it doesn't work, I can't pay you back." I said, "I guess we're partners then." So that's really how we started, and it went from Bikes and Blues to him wanting to do it full time, and really I was looking to do something because all I was doing is sitting at home and wasting away, and I was still young. So it's been a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun. We have a lot of great people that work for us, and we make it fun. It's our responsibility to make it fun. Our guys will tell us it's not work. They have fun. What they do, we make it fun. We take them to ball games. We tailgate. We do a lot of different things away from the workplace also.
And I understand that you're really active in the community here. Tell me a little bit about what you do.
Well, I have a charity called Pegasi Charities that we support kids that can't afford to play sports. A lot of single mothers or single parent. And our feeling is we don't want kids not to play because they can't afford it. And it's done quietly. Probably 95% of the time, the kids don't even know what's happening. And sometimes the coaches do, but a lot of times even the coaches that the kids on. We also have some coaches that request our kids because they'll make sure that they get picked up and get to practice and things like that. So that part's been real enjoyable because it's funny because I could be at a park or at a game and kids come up. Now they're 20 years old and they want to thank you for giving them the opportunity. And I was very fortunate for what I got to do for a living and did financially very well with it. It's great to give back and to see that the youth, they do something. We all know it's proven that the more you're involved, regardless if it's sports or whatever it is, the better chance you have to be a good student and a good person. And that's the big key, is that's what we're trying to do.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. This is Tom Pagnozzi, former St. Louis Cardinals catcher. We'll be right back.